The Shadow Secretary of State for Defence, John Healey, good morning to you. It's nice to see you. Thanks for your time. I mean, and this is part of the issue, isn't it? 12 months on, I mean, it's been a remarkable fight back from Ukraine. But this is something we are going to have to very much stay involved in, isn't it? I mean, not only for the global situation, but actually also for us in this country as well.
It is indeed. We're marking a year since the full-scale invasion, but in truth, Ukraine have been fighting Russia for 9 years now, not one. And this is long-term, and it's quite clear that the next government will inherit this Ukrainian conflict and the wider Russian aggression against the West. So one of the things that I've saying, and Keir Starmer was able to say to President Zelensky last week in Kyiv, was that if there is a change of government at the next election, there will be no change in Britain's resolve to confront Russian aggression, to pursue Putin for his war crimes, and also to stand with Ukraine.
And John, you certainly hope that you are a government in waiting, but the war will be moving on by that stage. I mean, Boris Johnson today talking about Britain supplying fighter jets, perhaps. Is that something that a Labour government would support?
Fighter jets aren't straightforward in the sense that they're complex, a lot of training is required, a lot of maintenance is required. And in fact, Britain doesn't have the F-16 jets that Ukraine really needs. So this effort to support Ukraine is really about countries coordinating whatever they can contribute. And so Britain's right to step forward, and the government's had Britain's Labour's fullest support for its offer not just to train Ukrainian troops, but to train fast jet pilots now, and that's a good contribution that Britain can make now. For me, the most important thing is concentrating on what we can provide to Ukraine over the next few weeks, because this is when they need to resist the fresh Russian onslaught. It's when they need to be able to prepare for their own offensive as the weather changes.
Well, I mean, it's interesting you say that, and obviously you, the Labour Party, has supported the government in a lot of these actions. And yet, as you talk about the next few weeks, crucial as that is, it is the longer-term planning which is also going to be crucial here, isn't it? Because as we were hearing from Robert Fox a minute ago, you know, Putin is relying on the support, the aid from countries like Britain drying up eventually. Give it another 12 months. And countries like ours saying, actually, we can't keep doing this. We've got to keep doing this, haven't we?
Well, Robert Fox is right. Putin's in this for the long term. He thinks he can weaken the West's resolve to stand with Ukraine. And one of the arguments that Labour's been making is that we've got to move beyond ad hoc announcements of military support for Ukraine, which have had our fullest support. But we've got to move to a 2023 plan and beyond, setting out the military, humanitarian, economic assistance we're willing to provide. That would give Ukraine greater confidence that our supplies will be sustained. It will help encourage other countries to do more. It will help gear up our own industry to ramp up production. And above all, it will signal to Putin that things are going to get worse, not better, for Russia.
Well, and production is crucial because we know there's concern over our munition stores and for what we've got in stock. Should we be required to enter another conflict? Right, that's a real concern. Amidst all of this, then, would you support and would you even propose higher defence spending, because it's going to cost money and quite a lot of it?
Well, first of all, it's quite clear, and I've set out a plan for a stockpile strategy. We clearly need that in order to produce what we have to continue to supply to Ukraine for their fight against the Russian invasion, but also to restock our own British Armed Forces. And it took the MOD 287 days to get its act together after the invasion, even to get a contract in place for new anti-tank missiles, which have proved so valuable to Ukraine. And on defence spending, I mean, 25 other NATO nations since the invasion have already rebooted their defence plans and defence budgets. Britain's done neither. And so there's a big test for me in next month's new integrated review. That's the government's plan for Britain in the world and the spring budget. The Chancellor has already said that we need to increase defence spending. And these two tests next week will really tell us whether the government's able to take the big decisions needed to secure our support for Ukraine, but Britain's security for the long term, or whether they're really too worried about the week-to-week survival to take those big decisions.